I was browsing YouTube the other day and came across a few videos where people had taken a sheet of acrylic and made an LED backlit sign. So I was immediately interested and bought all the necessary things, and in this project that's what we're going to do. Now, first thing you're going to want to do is get a sheet of acrylic, same thing as plexiglass. This sheet is 6 inches by 6 inches. It's a ½ inch thick. You can get it about any size on eBay. I got this, I believe it was $8 or $9. Next thing you're going to want to get is some LEDs. Same thing, I went on eBay and bought this 16-foot roll. Comes with a remote so you can make it any color you want. Now the plan for this is to take this acrylic and engrave it so the light reflects off of it. So you're going to need a Dremel tool. And got these two bits. Not sure how it's going to work, but we'll try it. This one's sort of got a little ball on the end. I'm hoping that'll rough up the surface. And the final thing you're going to need is something to actually engrave onto it. For that, reverted to the old tiger paw. My plan is to take this and simply lay it on here, and then maybe with a pen or a marker to trace out the actual shape so it's on here, and then just run the Dremel directly through this thin layer of cardboard, because this is on both sides just to keep it from getting scratched. So that's the plan. Hopefully the Dremel will cut through it. We're also going to make a base for it. I haven't figured out what to make that out of, but we'll figure it out as we go. So let's get started. First thing we're going to want to do is get our image ready to put onto the acrylic. Now you could, if you've had a stencil, just outline it or whatever, but for this we're going to take our image and flip it over and just kind of heavily color the whole back of the image with this pencil, and then what we'll do is place it onto the acrylic and go over it really heavily with a pen or a marker so it'll transfer it over. Not sure if it'll work, but it should. So I'm just going to start coloring in the whole area where the image is. Alright, we've done that. Now our next step is to take our plexiglass and lay out our image. You want to leave a little bit extra space at the bottom so when you put it into your base you won't cover up the image. The best way I've found to do this is to line it up sort of how you want it, then pick it up and point it at a light source so you can see where the edges of the plexiglass are. I've got it pretty well lined up. Next thing I'm going to do is use this duct tape that's on here from a previous attempt. We're just going to attach our paper right to the block of acrylic. This just to keep it from moving when we are going over it. Alright, that's on there pretty solid. So our next step, we're going to take this pen and just go over this outline very heavily, and it'll press the graphite from the pencil onto the acrylic, causing an outline. Hopefully. Alright, the next step is to just remove the image and the tape. And I don't know if you can see it. Let's get the autofocus. But we have our outline of what we are going to cut. And now what I'm going to do is just go back over that with the pen so it's a little bit darker. That's better. So now, this is your last chance. If you don't like what you're about to cut out, stop here. Alright, I've got the Dremel ready, and I'm going to be using 2 bits probably. I'm going to start with the one with the rounded end. And my goal is to just very gently go around the outside here. I don't know how it's going to work because I've never Dremeled anything on acrylic before. But our goal is just to rough it up so the light will reflect. And I'm hoping it'll cut through this cardboard. If not, I think we'll see pretty quickly. So if you want to put ear and eye protection on, that's probably a safe idea. I myself am going to be wearing ear protection just because of the high-pitched noise this Dremel makes. So let's start. Alright, this seems to be working. As you can see, it's going right through the cardboard. I think what my next step might be is to go all the way around the perimeter and then peel away the layer of the protective layer so we've got more of an idea of where we're going, because it's going to be hard to clean this whole inside out. Alright, I've got the main section of the paw dremeled out, and I'm just going to try to pull the adhesive layer off. That's going to go perfect. Just like that. I'm going to do the rest of it same way. Actually, you know what? It's probably better if we just do it one step at a time. So now, I think what I might do, might try this bit a little bit more. But if this kind of seems like it's digging into it, I might just put a sanding disc on it and see what happens there. Yeah, I think we're going to regroup with a sanding disc. We're going to switch to a sanding disc just because the one we had on there was sort of gouging at the end points. Probably can't see it right there, but it was sort of digging in a little too deep. So for this, we have the Dremel collet, and what you do is you stick a flat blade screwdriver in this top and loosen it as such till it comes apart into 2 pieces. You've got the, I'd call it the shank, and then the end, which has a little tiny, looks like a washer on each end. So we take one off, and found this sanding disc. It's not the coarsest, but it's not the finest. We just stick it right in here with the sandpaper end facing the flathead end. So you can't use it completely flat. You have to use it as a bit of an angle. And we'll take the little washer, put it back on, and tighten the whole thing back up. Don't really know how tight to tighten it. I've never used one of these before. Give it a little turn. Alright, that should be good. And then we take our Dremel. Have to widen it up a little bit. Stick the whole thing on. Now we're ready to rock and roll. I'm hoping this will work a little bit better. That's a little better. I may try it with a little water, kind of like a wet sand. Got a coffee can full of water, and I'm not sure the best way to do this, so I may just take my finger and sort of get it wet. Hoping that'll help produce a little bit more of a uniform sand, because it's sort of gouging in the same way the other one was. Could also just dip her in here. We'll try again. That's more what we were going for. Excellent. So definitely wet sand it. See, we got a nice frosted look on there. I am going to keep going around the outer edge. You just have to be sure not to dig it in too sharp or you'll gouge it. Alright, so that's definitely going to be our strategy. As you can see, we got a nice frosted look on here. I'm going to go back to the wheel with the ball thing on the end and do the outlines. Then take the protective coating away. Go back to the sanding wheels. I think we might need a few more though. This one doesn't look too good. It's also easier to work the Dremel pulling it towards you than it is to angle it away from you, so you might want to spin your workpiece around so you can use a pull angle on it. Alright, here you can clearly see the difference in where we've sanded and where we haven't. So now we're just going to do the same thing on the 4 paw prints. Got a new sanding wheel on and we're ready to go. And for this whole time I've been using pretty much a speed of about 3. I've got a variable speed Dremel. Once you get up to 4 and 5, it seems like you can make a mistake a bit too quickly. So with 3, you've sort of got a little more control over speed. So this technique seems to work well. It's definitely not an orthodox wet sanding technique of putting water on glass, but you don't want to get too much or else the adhesive holding the paper on will come off and you won't have as good of an edge. Alright, well, we've done one coat of, I guess you could call it frosting on there. I guess that means it's either time to do a second coat or time to pull the plastic off and do some freehanding. Basically what you want to do here is look over it and see if you're happy with how even the coat is. I'm missing a few little corners, so this sanding disc is destructed. I'm going to go back to the first one actually and touch up a few corners. Alright, so I went back over the piece and just cleaned up a few edges where I wasn't sure about it, and I also peeled back the cover a little bit just to see if we'd actually done anything. I think it's good enough. We can touch it up freehand if we need to. So now the big reveal moment comes when we take it off. Wow, that's actually really cool. I'm impressed. I'm not quite sure what grit sanding paper I was using on that thing, because it doesn't really say because it's just punched out, but it's a little black wheel, so get that one. Alright, that part of the process is done. The next step of this project is to make a base for the acrylic to sit in, like this, because the LED strip, the LEDs have a adhesive backing on it, so they need something to sit in. And I was looking through my wood and I was thinking I would build a box sort of to sit it on, but then I thought it's kind of sketchy, but why not just use 2x4? So my thinking is currently I don't have a router, so what I need to do is cut out a segment of this about 6.5 inches wide. Leave a little bit extra for the LEDs. I think if I can just sort of gouge it out, probably still using the Dremel, cut it to length, maybe sand it up, make it look a little prettier, maybe stain it, I don't know. We'll just see what happens. But it's 2x4, it's thick, it's heavy enough to where the whole thing won't fall over. So I think that's what I'm going to use for the base. The board's 6 inches, and I'm thinking I can either leave 1 inch on each side and cut an 8-inch piece of wood, or leave 2 inches on each side. Let's cut a 10-inch piece. I think that'd look better, look more substantial. So that's what we're gonna do. Alright, so we cut our 2x4, 10 inches, leave us 2-inch overhang on each side, which I marked right here and right here. Then I measured up 1.75 inches to cut the board in half, so I knew where the center line was. Then I placed the acrylic sheet on top of the board and lined it up just like this, so I could just draw the outline. I think what I want to do is just I think I have no router, so I can't go straight down like that. I might have to use keep using the Dremel somehow to do this. So that's our next step. Not going to cut all the way through it, just going to cut down a little bit. Alright, I found two options for what we're trying to do here. The first is a chisel, which I've admittedly never used in my life, so it doesn't seem like the best option. Plus, 2x4 I'd assume is pine, and I'd hate for it to shatter on the outside. The second is another Dremel bit. It's kind of like the one we started off using, except it's got a bigger ball on it. Tried that out, and it seems to work okay to pretty good. So I think we're going to use this, and we'll just put it on 5 and just maybe try to cut out the shape a little bit. Like I said, we're not going all the way through. We're just going sort of down a little bit. So that's what we're going to try. It's probably the completely wrong use for this Dremel bit, but you use what you got. Works better when it's clamped down, obviously. New plan is to just go around the outline so we know where our boundaries are, and then keep working, because this is going pretty good. On second thought, the chisel works okay. I just changed my angle up, so we might try that a little bit too. Alright, so what I found to work even better is one of these sanding drums you can put on the Dremel. Basically, I'm just putting it in here and running it wide open, just slicing out a nice place for the acrylic to sit. And you'll definitely want to put on some safety glasses for this, because it is pretty dusty. Yeah, not perfect. We're getting there though. Alright, I used a combination of the chisel and the sanding drum on the Dremel, and this is what we've come up with. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Is it great? Depends on your definition. Is it good enough? Definitely. So now what we can do is lay out our LEDs just to see exactly what we're dealing with here. This mark right here is going to be where we cut them. So that's what we're going to have. I think I could either drill a hole along here for the cord to come through. No, actually I'm just going to do a little notch just like that, because I have to drill a hole as big as this end piece right here, and I don't want to do that. So I think what we'll do is just line it up and use the same method we've been using and leave a little notch just for fun, we'll take our piece here, set it in there just like that. See what we're going to be working with. Yeah, we'll notch that right in there. Looks great. Next thing I think I'm going to do though is get a palm sander and just sand the whole thing, round off these corners, get rid of these lines I use for marking. So that's what we'll do next. Alright, I used palm sander and some 80 grit sandpaper just to sort of... Now comes the most dreaded moment of the whole thing. We have to cut this LED strip. It's got these little indentations or little marks every few inches. And I think that's where you can cut them. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, it's pretty clear that this little mark is right on the edge of where we need to cut it. So I guess here goes nothing. We're just going to take these scissors and just whack them. Alright. What's done is done. Let's see if it still works. Yes, they still work. Excellent. I suppose our next step is to make the little notch for the cord to go out the back. Oh, that fits even better. We'll do it that way. So for this, we'll take our piece and put it in here. Oh, looks almost like we're getting close to the finished product now. And situated. Doesn't really look great with that cord sticking out, but if we make a big enough notch, hopefully the cord will sort of disappear down inside it and you won't be able to see the whole thing as much. Got to figure out which side we want the front to be and which side we want the back to be. Alright, this fits good. I'm just going to go ahead and make a mark. Yeah, worst case, it looks off and we put some wire loom on it. So, got our kind of mark. Not sure what the best way to do this will be. Probably just use the sanding drum that's already on the Dremel. At this point, my air conditioner in my house kicked on, making everything I say inaudible. So the rest of this video is going to be sort of a voiceover type of situation going on. What I've done here is I've placed the LEDs where they're going to go, and I've noticed that the sticky back on that adhesive on the strip doesn't work at all. It doesn't stick to the wood in the slightest. So what I'm going to do instead is use this 5-minute Gorilla epoxy that I found around the house. Hopefully that'll do what we need to do. So its instructions are to take a disposable clean surface, pop the cap off, squeeze equal parts out, mix it up, and put it on. So here I'm just getting the lights ready for their final place of resting, I guess. I'm going to use a chunk of a stirring stick from a paint stick to both stir, mix, and put the epoxy on, and I've got another chunk I'm going to use to hold the lights in place so they don't sort of float around. Here I'm taking off the adhesive backing. I'm going to go ahead and just set the block down in the base just so we can set both the lights and the acrylic at the same time. As you can see, it turned out really, really well. Just going to line it up I wanted to take that backing off so it didn't get stuck in the epoxy. Trying to push it down. And I ran into a slight issue. I was pushing a little bit too hard, and actually the one of the connections on the lights came disconnected. So you'll see in a minute, I had to totally mess up the whole program using the old speed square to get her at a 90-degree angle. But that's basically what we're going for. Here I've turned the lights on just to make sure they still work and made an orange color. And here I'm using some aquarium silicone sealant just because I had to actually tear out the epoxy and start over because I had to fix the 3 LEDs that weren't working. So I'm just holding it in place here and squeezing a bead of silicone all the way around. At the same time being careful not to disconnect the board. Alright, drum roll please for the final product. Boom. There we go. Clemson Tiger Paw etched into acrylic with a Dremel. I think this thing looks great. I've obviously got to go back and clean up the fingerprints on the back. I'll have to use something mild so it doesn't eat away at the acrylic, but the LEDs still all function, can make it do all sorts of different patterns. Not bad for a little last minute project. Like I said, the eBay was my friend on this one. Bought the strip of LEDs for about $19 and the block of acrylic for about $9, and used some leftover scrap wood and epoxy and aquarium sealant. I'm ready to go. So this is definitely one of the best projects I've ever done, and I did it in just an evening, probably 4 or 5 hours with distractions. And if you've ever done anything like this, be sure to post it so everybody can see. Like I said, just a really cool all-around product that didn't take too much effort. So thanks for watching. Be sure to post yours and like and comment, subscribe, whatever YouTube does now. See ya.